Okay, Owen, we're live. All right, we're filming now. Okay, guys. So, how's everybody doing? Here's Mohammed and Owen, who are just sticking around. They have nothing else better to do than to help me make a quick tutorial video. We will be doing your first two practical hands-on tests. I would say sometime next month, beginning of next month. There's no troubleshooting. It's just simply obtaining signals. And I decided to pick two different sensors. One is a throttle position sensor, and the other one is a manifold pressure sensor. So we'll just start with the TPS sensor. What we're going to get that day is I'm going to have multiple stations set up basically like this, where there's a bench, some tools. You're going to have the big screen set up, so Mitchell On Demand will be there. You're going to have to do all the looking up stuff by yourself. All the tools you will need will be out as well. So the first exercise, everyone will get a work order roughly like this. I'll do a nicer one. You're going to have areas to fill everything out. So for TPS, the first task is to identify wire colors and purposes without using a wiring diagram. And once Owen and Mohammed have done that, the next step is to use Mitchell actually to obtain these specifications. So every sensor, the manufacturer will have a range that you have to check to see if your sensors in spec. So that's what we're going to do today. Okay, that's the first work order, and you're going to get 10 points, 2 points to work independently, 2 points to identify the wires and their purposes, 2 points using the tools independently or working independently, 2 points to actually get the specs from Mitchell, and 2 points to do the measurements successfully. Okay, so what we're going to do is, up here you'll see the TPS sensor. I would have already removed the casing for you just to expose the wires. Okay, and the purpose of this exercise is if you did not have a wiring diagram, you still need to be able to obtain your measurements. Let's say this car came in for a TPS situation, and we all know if you have a 3-wire sensor, you need power, or your reference voltage they call it, you need a signal output, and you need ground, right? And in this exercise, just using the simple multimeter, you should be able to determine what you need. Okay, and for review purposes, again, remember on eCentennial, the notes on TPS sensors and manifold pressure sensors, they're all under your week 3 folder. Okay, they're all online. So go ahead. So first thing, Mohammed, which is the throttle position sensor?
This one.
Actually, no, throttle position. That's the one. Throttle position sensor is that one. Okay. So did you verify? Do you have the key there? Is the key in the ignition? Okay, turn it on. You're going to turn it on. The charger will be hooked up already that day. So when you grab the multimeter, what's the first step? We're going to basically identify the 3-wire colors. Okay. Now, because you're not using the wire diagram, you're just going to label them 1, 2, 3 as you see fit. I suggest labeling the bottom one as number 1 and the top one as number 3. So go ahead. So Owen, what have you set your multimeter to?
To 40 DC voltage.
40 DC, that's good. Yeah. Okay. All right.
I'll put this one
so
around.
As you can see, I put 3 steps for you. Wire 1, 2, 3. Why don't we go with the colors first? So wire 1, you have it looks like a yellow wire, Owen.
Yeah, yellow.
And then what's wire 2 is green.
And blue.
Wire 3 is blue.
Yeah.
So we don't know what they do at this point. So just deductive reasoning, they're going to determine which one is your signal output. Let's say we want to measure it. So Mohammed's got it on DC 40. The negative is obviously we're just using a good ground. Try not to break the lead when you do that. All right.
Yeah.
I'm going to supply you guys with back probes as well, right? This is a back probe, right, with one of our light board wires, so we don't have to hold the pin. So why don't we, since you have it on voltage, how many wires will have a voltage reading plugged in right now? How many wires will have at this point?
1. 2.
Right, you're going to have a 2. One is the power supply, and the other one is the signal. So which one? How many volts should you see out of the power?
5.
5. So let's see which one has 5 volts. We don't know which wire is which.
Okay,
so what Mohammed's going to do is just back probe. Okay, so that's yellow wire, right?
Yeah.
What did you get?
32.
0.32 volts. Okay, so that's most likely signal. Let's find the one that says 5. Okay, there you go. So which wire is that?
This one is the middle one.
Okay, so stop right there.
Yeah.
So, and what you're going to do now is, obviously, we determined that yellow only had 0.32 volts. Green is the one that has 5 volts, so that would be the power, or you could put down maybe reference, 5 volt, put 5 volt reference, 5 volt ref if you want. Okay, and yellow had 0.3, so most likely that will be your signal. But before we determine that, let's make sure we only have 1 ground. So how do we check ground?
So this one will be ground.
But how do we check that? How do we make sure that it's ground?
We can continue.
Okay,
continuity.
do continuity, and this is called a sensor ground. When it's a sensor ground, right?
Yeah.
When is the ground present? Can you turn off the key for a second? Just turn it off. Remember our theory, a hard ground, it's there all the time.
Yeah.
A sensor ground, meaning it grounds through the computer, it's only there when you turn the key on.
Yeah.
So Mohammed, we're going to do the blue wire because we know 5 volts is the green wire.
Yeah.
So he just plug it in.
Yeah, there is sound, so it means this is the ground.
Okay, so let's see.
I just put in the blue.
Right. Okay, so blue is your ground.
Yeah.
Blue is your ground, so you can unplug that.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, all you can do is write down that blue is your ground. All that's left is yellow should be signal.
Yeah.
So why don't we go to the yellow wire? Now we got to set your meter back to what?
To 40 DC.
Okay, so you got it in there?
Yeah.
You got 0.3.
That's
Okay, so
0.34.
we got all 3 wires. So the first wire is yellow is going to be your signal. So this is basically what you're going to do. You're going to basically just determine what the wires are for. So the next step, now you're going to actually have to find the spec on Mitchell on Demand. So Owen, why don't we do that? Why don't you do that for us? So to save time, all of you guys should be able to input your VIN and all that. I'm not going to waste time making you do that. We'll look up the correct car. What you're going to do is do exactly what Owen's here's doing and just find the information, right? We don't need the wiring diagram at this point. We've determined which wire to measure. We just got to look at the specs. Okay, so he went to specification. There you go. Look there. Vehicle specification, throttle angle, closed throttle, wide open throttle, your voltages. So why don't we do that? So he's going to write it down. Make sure you write volts. During the test, I want everybody to write down volts, your units, ohms, volts, amps, or whatever we decide to do because there's a big difference, right? And then WOT, which is wide open throttle, minimum should be 4, right? 4 volts, at least. All right, so why don't we try that, okay? So you grab the meter.
I got it. So I have like 0.32.
Okay, the next step, go wide open throttle. So Mohammed, hold on. How do you do that? Show us.
I just press this one.
What is that one called?
That's throttle position.
The throttle,
Yeah.
throttle.
Position sensor.
Well, this is the throttle position sensor.
one.
That's your throttle linkage.
Yeah.
Normally a cable goes here. So open it all the way. All the way.
All the way.
Yeah.
That's-
What do we have?
4.31.
Okay, 4.37 volts. Good. Now at close throttle, we know it was only 0.32, so he can write that down, 0.32. All right, that's it. So this sheet, I would have expected you to put your name, the make and model, the mileage, and the VIN. Pretend it's a real work order. All of these will be worth points. All right? So that's basically it to get the TPS one. So once you know how to do this, eventually, if I put a fault, then you guys should know how to troubleshoot. But the first step is just to find the signal.